used to let the mic smoke. Now I slam it when I'm done and make sure it's broke. When I'm gone, no one gets on, cause I won't let nobody press up and mess up the scene I set. I like to stand in the crowd and watch.
Paid in full. Paid in full. Paid in full. That's really all I should have to say, honestly. But because I know that I need to, I'll do a real review on this one. Paid in Full is the debut studio album by classic Golden Age hip-hop duo Eric B. and Rakim and was released in mid-1987. The album was groundbreaking for both its production, which was one of the first instances of heavy James Brown sampling, and its rapping, which revolutionized the art of MCing. Rakim Allah, born William Michael Griffin Jr., also known as the God MC. And not for no reason. I mean, rappers by nature are prone to braggadocio, but for Rakim, it's really earned, I would say. See, old school rap, as best exemplified by the Sugar Hill Gang, was basically just singing with less melody and more rhythm, and as such, the lyrics were a little bit simplistic and the flow was basically non-existent. But then as rappers came and went throughout the 80s, the raps themselves changed, like with the arrival of Run DMC in the mid-80s and that whole new school outfit. The raps became harder, more energetic in their delivery, and they became just slightly more complex. And Kumo D, who had been on the scene for a while already, began releasing singles in the mid-80s, and through these he helped introduce a more complex style that included internal rhymes and that kind of stuff, right? So this technique then was later picked up by rappers like Rakim and Kool G Rap and Big Daddy Kane and whatnot, though Kool G Rap and Rakim were the first to release music with it in 1986 with the Eric B. is President single for Rakim and the It's a Demo single with DJ Polo for Kool G Rap. But Rakim was the first to follow it up with a full album in 1987. Rakim was revolutionary because he built upon the developments of Kumo D, but also took them further. He developed the staccato delivery of earlier rap into a genuine, bona fide flow, and he contrasted the energetic shouts of, rappers like Run DMC with a more relaxed, monotone delivery. And needless to say, it sounded and still sounds fresh as all hell. I mean, you could really divide hip-hop into two eras. Pre-Rakim and post-Rakim. After he came around, dudes really had to step up their game if they wanted to be considered competent. And, you could just see from the number of rappers that take influence from Rakim, who call him an influence, who endlessly reference his lines, especially from this album, and, just to see how much clout he had, how far-reaching his influence was, despite his relative lack of commercial success compared to other rap acts of his day, like NWA, who stole a lot of the limelight. And even in New York, you had, LL Cool J and even Public Enemy and that stuff. They're, I would say, more remembered in the public eye than Rakim was. And when people say Nas is the second coming of Rakim, they don't say it because Nas sounds like Rakim. They say it because what he did for hip-hop is akin to what Rakim did. Pre-Nas hip-hop and post-Nas hip-hop are different. He, like Rakim before him, really challenged MCs to step their game up if they wanted to remain relevant in the game, which is what happened, just like when Rakim released Paid in Full with Eric B. The album is itself made up of 10 tracks, 3 of them being instrumentals. One of those instrumentals is simply just an extension of the beat from As the Rhyme Goes On, and then the other 2 are just DJ showcases for Eric B. 2 of the songs on the album, Eric B. is President and My Melody, were previously released in 1986 as the duo's debut single. Eric B. for President, as it was called by some, originally credited to Eric B. featuring Rakim. And though you can really tell with Eric B. as President, you can really see a difference in the sound of My Melody, especially with Rakim's vocals And lyrically, of course, this album is on point. I mean, honestly, words flow from Rakim's brain and out his mouth like a waterfall, smooth and just naturally. But a note has to be made of the lyricism on this album that, you know, it's great and it's revolutionary and it's just great to listen to. The lyrical variety on this album, diversity, is almost non-existent, I would say. You know, I mean, aside from the classic money-hungry tale of Paid in Full, the lyrics on this album mostly just concern Rakim's skills and styles. And heck, even Paid in Full at the end mentions his raps, you know, when he says,
I dig into the books of the rhymes that I made. Soon as a test to see if I got pulled, hit the studio, cause I'm paid full.
While there isn't inherently an issue with this, some people who are expecting a little bit more variety, or at least, you know, something more grounded in, I don't know, relatability, might have an issue with that. I don't personally think it's a problem, you know. The production in this album is a little bit tricky. Maybe that's the wrong word, but see, the production's actually pretty good, you know. Minimalistic usage of soul samples gives the beats a pretty good, instantly identifiable sound. But the actual making of them, that's kind of the tricky part. Because, you know, for starters, Eric B's president has Eric B listed as the producer. Marley Marl, iconic hip-hop producer, has said, though, that he was actually the one who produced the songs on the single Eric B is President and My Melody. Eric B, though, in interviews has disputed this claim, saying that he himself was the producer and he had the records and he just simply took them over to Marley Marl's house and paid him to engineer the beats because he had the equipment and he had the know-how to do it. Eric B didn't know how to handle the equipment. That was not what he did, he said. So he paid Marley Marl to do it, and that's why he says Marley Marl is credited as engineer rather than producer. And, you know, adding on to this, on the album, the production is credited to Eric B and Rakim, as all Eric B and Rakim albums are. But in recent interviews, Rakim has stated that if he and Eric B did a 10-song album, 7 or so of the beats would be made by he himself, you know. He said that Eric B was mostly on the business side of things rather than the musical aspect of it. And so, you know, I really don't know who to credit here. And I mean, even on later albums, there are tracks that are known to have been ghost produced by other people with like no credit. So, you know, I don't know who to credit here. I don't know who to praise. So I'll just say good job to both Eric B and Rakim and just spread the praise around equally. I know this review was a little long and served as really more like an analysis, but with an album so monumental, I don't really think I could have done it any other way. I mean, you know, it's just a classic. That's the reason I'm doing this series, to show the classics. So, to recap, revolutionary lyricism and a smooth flow equals very good. Plus, the production is rock solid, even if it's just a little minimalistic. The highlights include the whole album, really, honestly. I mean, you can't go wrong just listening to the album from beginning to end, you know. I don't really feel like there are notable weak moments on it, though if you are not someone who enjoys instrumental hip-hop, then you might want to skip the instrumentals. Eric B is on the cut, extended beat, and Chinese arithmetic, but personally, I think you'd be missing out just for the experience of it all. And, you know, the scratching and DJing on Chinese arithmetic and Eric B is on the cut. Just great album. Some might say it's filler. I say it's just part of the ride. And so, with that in mind, to wrap this up, I would give this album a solid, steady 10 out of 10. And that's my rating. Bye. Real quick, I'd like to give a shout out to however you pronounce that for keeping me on my toes during the writing, filming, and editing of this video. I hope it was up to snuff, so let me know.